Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I need to talk to you about something that's happening right now, something that's got millions of Americans, especially those of us over 60, paying very close attention. President Trump just signed an executive order, and at almost the exact same time, the White House confirmed a plan that could put real money directly into your pocket. I'm talking about new dividend checks, potentially $2,000 per person. And yes, seniors are right at the center of this. Now, before you click away or think this is just another political promise, stick with me because I've spent hours digging through the official statements, watching the actual ceremony, reading Trump's posts word for word, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what's real, what's not, and most importantly, what this could actually mean for your wallet. Quick thing before we dive deeper, drop a comment right now and tell me what state you're watching from. I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from across the country. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because things are moving fast with this story and I'll be updating you every step of the way. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up too. It really helps more seniors find this information when they need it most. All right, let's get into the details because there's a lot of confusion out there and you deserve the truth. For those who don't know me, I'm Susan Harper, and for over a decade, I've been helping American seniors make sense of Social Security decisions, retirement planning, and all the government policy changes that affect your daily life. I know how overwhelming breaking news can be, especially when it involves money you might desperately need. That's why I'm here to slow everything down and make it crystal clear, like we're just two friends sitting across the table having an honest conversation about your financial security. So let's take a deep breath together and walk through this step by step. Because what's happening right now is bigger than just a headline. It affects real people, real families, and real budgets like yours. Let me start by clearing up the biggest misunderstanding that's spreading like wildfire online, because I want you grounded in truth before we go any further. Yes, President Trump and First Lady Melania did sign an executive order in a very public ceremony. And that's why so many people assumed it had something to do with these dividend payments everyone's talking about. But here's what actually happened. That executive order was focused on supporting teenagers aging out of the foster care system. It was an emotional and meaningful moment for those families and advocates, but it had absolutely nothing to do with $2,000 dividend checks. What happened is simple. Two different announcements happened at the same time, and the internet smashed them together into one dramatic headline. Seniors saw the words executive order and payments in the same breath and naturally assumed one triggered the other. I completely understand why. When you're watching the news and money's tight, it's easy to connect dots that weren't meant to connect. But here's the part that is true and deeply relevant to you. Separate from that foster care order, the White House has directly confirmed that President Trump is pushing forward with his plan to issue new dividend payments funded by tariff revenue. This confirmation didn't come from rumors or viral posts. It came straight from statements made by the administration and by Trump himself. He published several messages outlining how these payments would work, who they're meant for, and why he believes tariff revenue makes this possible. This is where things become especially important for us as seniors. In Trump's own words, he said, the administration intends to issue a dividend of at least $2,000 per person, specifically for lower and middle income Americans. High income earners would be excluded entirely. That means these payments are not for everyone. They're being targeted to the groups that need support the most. If you're living on Social Security, if you're a veteran receiving disability, if you're raising grandchildren on a modest income, or if you're simply trying to make ends meet on a fixed pension, you fall right into the category Trump is describing. But before anyone gets too excited or assumes they're automatically eligible, we need to dig into the details because there's important fine print here. Trump emphasized two key points. These payments would go only to U.S. citizens, and they would be structured for low and middle income households. Even though the exact income limits haven't been publicly finalized yet, we do have a strong clue from previous legislation Trump supported. When Senator Josh Hawley proposed a tariff dividend bill months ago, a bill Trump publicly backed, It capped eligibility at individuals earning under $100,000. So, while nothing's been written into law yet, it gives us a strong indication that those earning under six figures are likely the primary group being considered. If you fall into that range, this proposal is aimed directly at people like you. Now, let's talk about what Trump actually confirmed, because this is the part so many of us have been waiting to hear. In his public statements, especially the ones he shared on Truth Social, Trump laid out the clearest explanation yet of how these dividend checks would work. He argued that critics of tariffs are missing the bigger picture, saying that the revenue created through tariffs can be used not just to strengthen the economy, but to directly support American families. And then he made the promise that caught everyone's attention: a dividend of at least $2,000 per person targeted specifically to low and middle income Americans. This wasn't hinted at, this wasn't implied. He stated it loudly and plainly. That matters because public commitments like this, statements made with millions of people watching, are not easily walked back. When a president puts something in writing and repeats it across multiple platforms, it signals that the administration is actively working on some form of official pathway, even if it isn't complete yet. What's especially important for us as seniors is the group Trump repeatedly emphasized. He stressed that these payments are meant for middle and lower income people, which is exactly the population facing the most pressure right now. He directly referenced families living on modest budgets, people trying to keep up with rising grocery prices, seniors on fixed incomes, veterans relying on disability payments, and households struggling with medical costs. These are not high earners. These are everyday Americans, the people who feel inflation the most and have the least room to absorb financial surprises. That's us. That's the group he's describing. And he didn't stop there. He also explained that any leftover tariff revenue after issuing these payments would be used to pay down the national debt. So when we look at the total picture, it's a two-part plan: give immediate relief to lower and middle income citizens, and use the remaining funds to strengthen the country's financial footing. Whether you agree or disagree with the politics behind it, the intention he's putting forward is very clear. So, what does this mean for you specifically? If you're living on Social Security, if you earn below that $100,000 threshold, if you depend on VA benefits or SSDI payments or a modest retirement income, you're probably within the targeted range this plan is meant for. Another key part of Trump's message is that these payments would go only to U.S. citizens. He said this explicitly, and that detail immediately rules out individuals with visas, temporary residency, or non-citizen status. In other words, the program is aimed at Americans who are part of the tax and benefit system and are financially vulnerable. But it's just as important to understand who's likely excluded. High-income earners, especially those well above six figures, are not part of this proposal. Trump said that very directly. For many of us watching this, that clarity might bring a sense of reassurance. Because this isn't a wide-open program where everyone gets the same thing. It's a targeted plan aimed at the people who need help the most. Now I want to stress this gently and honestly. While the public statements are strong, the exact eligibility won't be official until legislation or a formal framework is released. But based on everything we know right now, seniors with modest incomes are very much at the heart of this discussion. Now let's talk about where this money would actually come from, because no matter how promising a proposal sounds, we deserve to know whether the funding behind it is realistic or just political noise. The foundation of this entire plan is tariff revenue. If that phrase feels heavy or complicated, let me explain it in the simplest way possible. When the U.S. places tariffs on imported goods, whether it's steel, automobiles, pharmaceuticals, or consumer products, companies importing those items must pay a fee to the government. Think of it as a tax on foreign goods. All of that money goes directly into the U.S. Treasury, and depending on the level of tariff set, it can add up to significant revenue. President Trump has repeatedly argued that these tariffs are generating more money than many experts predicted. In his recent statements, he framed tariff revenue as a powerful tool that could be used in two ways. First, to help everyday Americans through a direct dividend, and second, to reduce the national debt. For some context, Trump even compared this idea to the Alaska Permanent Fund, which sends yearly payments to Alaska residents using profits from the state's oil resources. Now, while tariffs and oil revenue are two very different things, the concept of taking government collected funds and redistributing part of it to citizens is not new. The Alaska model shows that this type of system can exist in the US, at least on a state level. What Trump is suggesting is a national version of that idea, one built on tariffs instead of natural resources. But here's where we also need to stay grounded. For these payments to move from idea to reality, there has to be a legal structure for distributing them. That means Congress would likely need to pass legislation, or the administration would need a legally sound executive mechanism that can withstand federal rules and potential legal challenges. So while the revenue source does exist, the question becomes, how fast can it be organized into a system that delivers money to Americans? That part is still unknown, and we deserve honesty about that. This plan has significant momentum and strong public messaging behind it, but like every major federal payment in the past, it cannot happen overnight. Still, the fact that the administration is discussing tariff revenue as a direct funding source is notable. It means the conversation has moved beyond ideas and into early stage structure, and that's a meaningful shift. Now, let's talk about the question everyone's been asking: when could these payments realistically arrive? I want to be as transparent as possible here. As of today, there is no official date for these dividend checks to go out, no calendar set, no federal schedule. I know that might be disappointing to hear, especially with all the excitement these announcements have created, but honesty is the only thing that truly protects your financial peace of mind. Whether you're living on Social Security, managing rising medical bills, or trying to stretch a fixed pension, I never want you to make decisions based on assumptions or incomplete information. Here's the truth. Even though the White House has acknowledged the plan and President Trump has spoken about it repeatedly, we are still in the promise stage, not the payment stage. For federal money to reach your bank account, whether by direct deposit or paper check, there must be a legally approved framework. That could be a bill passed through Congress or a different method that meets federal requirements. History gives us a little guidance here. During the pandemic, every major stimulus payment required full legislative approval. Even when the government moved quickly, it still took weeks for laws to pass and payments to be processed. So if similar rules apply here, we could be looking at a timeline of several weeks to a few months once a formal plan is introduced. But here's the hopeful side of this moment. Public promises made at this scale are difficult for any administration to walk away from. When millions of Americans are listening, watching, and waiting, pressure builds. Lawmakers respond to that pressure. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it makes the possibility stronger. So as we move forward, I want you to stay informed, stay cautious, and stay realistic. Hope is healthy, but planning your budget around unapproved money is not. Let's talk about what this proposal could mean, specifically for seniors like us, because this is where many of you will feel the impact most personally if these payments move forward. The groups most likely to feel the greatest relief are older Americans living on fixed incomes. For so many of us, Social Security isn't just a monthly deposit, it's the foundation of your entire budget. You're stretching every dollar to cover prescription costs, heating bills, groceries, medical appointments, and rising insurance premiums. A $2,000 payment wouldn't solve every financial challenge, but it could ease some pressure you've been carrying alone for far too long. It could help fill prescription medications you've been delaying. It could cover the gap on a medical bill you've been worrying about. It could help you rebuild a little savings cushion, or simply buy a few months of breathing room. This proposal is also meaningful for veterans, especially those relying on disability benefits or modest military retirement income. Many veterans tell me how quickly those benefits get eaten up by medical costs and daily needs. A one-time payment like this could finally give them space to catch up. The same goes for disabled Americans living on SSDI. Inflation has hit this group incredibly hard, Food, transportation, energy bills, everything has climbed. A targeted dividend like this would go directly to the people who genuinely feel that pressure. And if you're raising grandchildren or supporting adult children and helping with household expenses, that $2,000 becomes even more meaningful. These aren't luxuries, it's help with school supplies, rent, or simply keeping the home running. But with that said, I want to gently share a reality that matters just as much as the hope. Even though the plan is directed at seniors and other lower and middle income groups, nothing is guaranteed until the legal framework is officially in place. That's why I don't want you to reorganize your finances around the expectation of this money. Don't skip paying a bill because you think a check is coming. Don't delay a medical appointment. Don't assume you'll be able to cover a big upcoming expense with money that hasn't been approved yet. It's perfectly okay to hope, but please don't budget around it. What you can do, though, is prepare wisely so you're in the best position possible if and when these payments become a reality. First, make sure the IRS has your correct information. If you've moved, changed bank accounts, or haven't filed taxes in a while because your income is low, that could delay any possible payment. The IRS typically uses your most recent tax return to deliver federal payments, just like they did with the COVID stimulus checks. It doesn't mean you have to go pay a tax bill. Many seniors don't owe taxes at all, but updating your information can save you months of waiting if money does go out. Second, please be aware of scammers. Whenever big financial news breaks, especially news involving seniors, scammers move fast. They'll call pretending to be government officials, send emails asking you to register, or tell you to pay a fee to process your payment more quickly. None of that is real. The government will never call you directly to confirm eligibility. They will never ask for your social security number over the phone, and they will never charge you to receive a federal payment. If anyone asks you for money to activate or speed up a check, it's a scam. Hang up immediately. Finally, while we wait, I want you to focus on the programs and resources that are available to you right now. If you qualify for SNAP, for energy assistance like LEHEAP, for state-based rental help, or for medical cost support through pharmaceutical discount programs, please don't hesitate to apply. These programs exist for a reason, and they can offer the relief you need today without waiting for Congress or the White House to take action. When we look at where things stand right now, it really helps to step back and remember how federal payments have worked in the past, because history gives us important clues about what usually happens next. If you think back to the stimulus rounds during the pandemic, every one of those payments went through a specific structured process before a single dollar reached Americans. The first major payment, $1,200 back in April 2020, required an entire act of Congress. Lawmakers negotiated the amount, the income limits, the distribution method, and the funding source. Only after it was signed into law did the IRS begin sending checks and direct deposits. The second payment, $600 in December 2020, followed the same pattern. And the third stimulus check, the $1,400 payment in March 2021, also required a full legislative package. Even with the government working at rapid speed, those payments still took weeks to move through the system and get to families. Why does this matter today? Because it shows us that while the federal government can move quickly, it cannot move instantly. And it also shows us that high-profile payments, especially ones that involve hundreds of billions of dollars, need a strong legal foundation. The plan President Trump is proposing is different in its funding source, but it's similar in scale. A $2,000 dividend payment would actually be larger than any of the individual stimulus checks Americans received during the pandemic. That makes the proposal historically significant. If this plan moves forward, it would become one of the largest direct payments ever made to citizens in U.S. history. And just like before, we can expect Congress or a federal executive framework to play a major role in determining how quickly or how slowly the money gets approved. Understanding this doesn't take away the hope. It simply helps you stay grounded in reality. And that's one of the most important ways to protect your financial peace of mind. With all that in mind, here's the bottom line I want you to walk away with. President Trump has made a very public commitment to providing $2,000 dividend payments to lower and middle income Americans, and the White House has confirmed that this plan is being actively worked on. Those two facts alone tell us the momentum behind this proposal is real. The intention is real, the hope is real. But it is also true that no payment can be issued until the legal framework is in place. That means nothing is guaranteed yet, not the amount, not the timeline, and not the eligibility specifics. I know many of you are feeling the weight of rising prices, medical bills, and the uncertainty of living on a fixed income. You're not alone in that, and I know how tempting it can be to cling to any news that sounds like relief is finally on the way. But here's what I want you to hear from me clearly and gently. Stay hopeful, but stay practical. Don't count on money that hasn't been finalized. Don't make financial decisions based on early announcements. What you can do is stay informed, stay careful, and stay protected. And I promise to keep bringing you updates you can trust, calmly, clearly, and without sensationalism, so you always know exactly where things stand. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with something deeper than just information. I know how heavy these financial worries can feel, especially when every decision affects your sense of security. When headlines start swirling, when politicians make big promises, and when the news feels confusing or contradictory, it's easy to feel anxious or even discouraged. But you're not navigating this alone. You have every right to clear, honest guidance delivered in a way that protects your peace of mind, not adds to your stress. That's why I'm here with you week after week. No drama, no panic, no political pressure, just calm, real information you can trust. So here's the final truth for today. This proposal is real, the momentum behind it is real, and the intention is serious. At the same time, nothing has been finalized yet, and there are still important steps ahead before any payments can reach your mailbox or your bank account. If these checks become a reality, they could bring meaningful relief to millions of people, especially seniors, veterans, disabled Americans, and families living on modest incomes. Until then, the best thing you can do is stay informed, stay cautious, and keep making the day-to-day choices that protect your stability. Hope is a good thing, but planning ahead is even better, and both can exist side by side. If today's video helped you feel a little more confident, a little more grounded, or simply a little less overwhelmed, I'm truly glad. That's why I do this. Please take a moment to like this video. It helps more seniors find reliable information when they need it most. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Things are changing quickly, and I will always be here to walk you through every step with clarity and care. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What's one financial lesson you wish you had learned earlier in life? Your story might help someone else feel supported or even make a better decision tomorrow. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take good care of yourself, stay safe, and remember, you deserve stability, security, and peace of mind. I'll see you in the next update.